Neyda, it's so nice to talk to you today. I'm really looking forward to learning more about you. From what I understand and the homework I've done about you, you are truly a hustler. So you're doing so many different things, and you have been doing that for majority of your career, kind of very dynamic story. So tell us a little bit, set the context of who you are, what you're doing, and what is your career story so far.
Thank you for having me, Elena. I'm so excited to be speaking with you today. Well, I'm Neyda, and my background really is I've been in human resources, primarily focused in recruitment for over 12 years now. I started as a recruiting assistant, worked my way up to talent acquisition specialist and talent acquisition manager. I've been a corporate leader now for over 4 years, currently a talent and engagement manager. And majority of, well, I would say most of my career has been in property management with some commercial, some hospitality in there as well. And so been doing that for over 12 years now. And on the side, I also do career coaching individually with candidates. So like when someone's job hunting, looking for new opportunities, some people don't know where to start. They want to fix their resumes, their LinkedIn. I help with that. If someone needs help with career guidance or interview coaching, I help with that as well. So definitely, really, try to help the candidate experience outside of work as well. So definitely, it seems like recruitment is definitely my niche, my passion for sure.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, and I love it because you're like, that's not only your day to day, but that's also you love it and you truly enjoy it, and you're probably adding a lot of value to your client side of your work as well. So what made you kind of go into it in the beginning? Is there a story there, or is it just kind of you like what is I'm always curious, how do people choose what they want to do?
There definitely was a story, and I will say that I landed in recruitment by accident. So what happened was that before I got into recruitment, I was in accounts payables. And while it was a job, it paid the bills, it was not my thing. I am not that great with numbers, and I just knew that it just wasn't me. I needed more of a people interaction sort of position. And back in those days, Career Builder was popping, right? So like people were applying and posting their resumes up there. So I tried my luck and I put my resume up on Career Builder. And there was a recruiter who reached out to me for another accounts payables position, even though it wasn't my thing. The environment where I was at working was also toxic. So I just knew that, okay, if this is what it takes for me to get out of here, I have to go into another AP position, then I'll do it. Right. So we were talking, and after that conversation, she said to me, how would you like to do recruiting? And I said to her, well, I've never done it, first of all, but I'm open to learn. I'm willing to learn. Like it will be something totally different. And so, of course, she explained to me what recruitment was. And I was sort of familiar with HR, but in my mind, HR, they were the bad guys, right? They're the ones that fire you, and they're the ones that write you up and all that. So I didn't put it together that HR also includes recruitment and hiring talent. So when she explained that to me, I said, "Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting." So she gave me a chance. She became my boss. So she was a recruiter. She was also hiring for a recruiting assistant at that time. It just worked out. And so I came on board as a recruiting assistant, really fell in love with it. My team really embraced me. I learned so much from them. And I really learned that, okay, this is really what I enjoy to do. I really enjoy helping people find new jobs, new careers, make more money, just really upgrade their lives, right? And by working, that's how we do it. So I really grew a passion for it. And then over the years, just really tried to just absorb as much as I could and learn as much as I could and be involved in so many different things. And so it helped me to grow. And so here I am now.
Hey you, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this episode, make sure to share it with friends and family who might find it interesting. Make sure to hit the subscribe button as well to stay up to date on weekly new videos that are going to be coming out with some awesome guests that I bring on. And if you have any questions, use the comment section to ask me questions, to interact. I look forward to talking to you. That's awesome. I love it that the recruitment person has recognized the talent. She must have recognized something in you to where like, she might be good at this. And I love that because ideally you would want every recruiter to recognize somebody for, listen, like she might not be or he might not be for this role, but they've recognized something, and that is such a skill. And I mean there are a lot of them that do it well, but there's also a lot that don't do it very well, right? And I think that especially over the last few years, the changes that the world of work has gone through, and the world of recruitment in general, I think especially with like career, everybody's kind of looking for that career change, and there's a lot of change happening. And I think it's so important to have individuals who recognize talent and potential beyond the bullet points of what they're looking for, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And she did that. And it was during that conversation where she did say to me, you have too much personality for accounting,
And that's
and
right. I would
she
have
was
never imagined you'd be. It's a completely different
yeah,
thing.
completely different. Yeah. And she said that to me. She was like, you have too much personality for accounting. Are you sure that that's what you want to do? Are you sure you wouldn't want to try recruitment? And I was like, you're right, because I dreaded that position. So shout out to Olivia Hunter. That's my boss, and she forever holds a place in my heart. And I always tell her that all the time. I'm like, I owe my career to you because you really gave me the opportunity. You saw something in me that I didn't even know that I even had. So
Yeah.
definitely. And so I learned that from her, where whenever I talk to someone, I'm like, okay, maybe you're not necessarily a fit for this particular position, but how about this other position? So I definitely took that from her too.
Yeah, not to throw shade on any accounts people, we appreciate you, but
Right. Of
but there's
course.
yeah, but there's yeah,
There's a job for everyone, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And you know what's interesting is that you said like you weren't happy in it, right? Like you didn't feel like you fit in. And it's like one of those things like we don't know what we don't know. And I think probably that experience, I would imagine, prepared you to want to help others because you're like, oh, like I've been there before, like I know what that feels like. And it's so important to just bring awareness to individuals to say, listen, you might actually be good in X, Y, and Z, to have that soundboard. And that's what coaching is about, right? Is that having that soundboard, having, kind of helping people uncover what they might be good at, right? And creating those opportunities and experiences for them. So I think, I mean, kudos to people like Olivia, right? We said her name. Really,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's I love hearing these kind of stories. So you've been in the world of talent essentially for over 12 years now. And what have you seen, I guess, as at least if we focus on the current times, like what do you feel are the biggest obstacles for both sides, for talent acquisition specialists and then also for candidates in the market? What do you feel are the biggest obstacle people are dealing with right now?
That's a really, really great question, because I feel like I go through this question in my mind every day because it's tough out here right now. Right now, candidates have so many options. And so for us, it's like we have to be fast.
Yeah,
You cannot sit and wait. And if you sit and wait, you're like, oh, okay, I'll get to it even tomorrow. Tomorrow might be too late because people
yeah,
are applying everywhere, and then they're snatched up really fast by someone else. But I think like even one of the other challenges too is because candidates know that they have options, sometimes they don't put their best effort, their best foot
mm,
forward interview. So it's kind of like, yeah, well, I'm shopping around, I'm interviewing all these different companies, whoever's going to pay me the best is the one that I'm going to go for, which I totally understand. Listen, we got to make money to survive. Inflation is here, recession, like all these
yeah,
things are happening and we need money. I totally understand. But I also think that, they do a disservice to themselves by doing that. And then it's frustrating on our end because, we're walking them through the entire process and then they ghost us and they give us like no explanation, like, hey, I found another job, or I'm no longer interested, or this just doesn't fit me, my schedule, my lifestyle, or whatever, my career goals. And so it's tough for us. And I will say for on the manager side, I will say that sometimes when the managers are picky, Like sometimes managers could be like, I need someone with experience. And it's like, but can you really? Do you really need experience, or can you train someone? So it's like also changing that mindset of what it used to be back then a few years ago, where it was like, you got to have a certain number of years to qualify for this position. And now it's not so much about the years of experience, but now it's more so of, can the person, do they have the soft skills, the personality, the ability, the willingness to learn, to grow? How invested are they within the company, in this position, in the role, things like that. So it's like changing the mindset on what it used to be at one point.
Mm. I can very much relate to the ghosting, and it's just, I used to think it's only in the Middle East. Okay, I mean, I'm sure I spent 8 years in the Middle East. I think we talked a little bit about this before, but I spent 8 years in the Middle East, and in the Middle East, it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing to not want to say no. So it's almost like they feel a little bit of shame to say no to somebody or to decline. So whether it's being business proposals that you try and send out, or job opportunities, whatever it may be, people just, it's a cultural thing. They don't want to let you down by saying no, but I'm like, then you're just leaving the person hanging. And then when I came here and I started doing this, part of my work is doing talent acquisition, and candidates would literally just hang up on me. Like the minute I say, like, X, Y, and Z, I'm like, you haven't even heard. Like, even if you're not looking, it can change tomorrow, my friend. Like you have just lost a potential recruiter, talent acquisition specialist who's in the market, in the network. Like, I'm like, what? It is so astonishing to me that please, whoever's listening, don't do that. Don't ghost recruiters. Like, it's your brand, it's your reputation. And I'm just mind boggled that this is what people do. Like,
Preach, Elena, preach. It's seriously, I say this all the time. I'm like, guys, don't ghost. Like, we're on your side, and you never know when you might need to cross over this bridge again. You never know when you and I are going to have another interaction. You might have a good offer now, but then what if layoffs happen in 6 months, 2 months, 3 months? You're out there looking for another job again, and now you're reapplying at my company, and now I've got notes on you that I'm like, yeah, this person ghosted. I've been trying to reach them 2-3 times via email, phone, text, whatever. No signs of anything with them. And now I'm like, do I really want to move you forward? You seem to be unreliable, not too dependable, definitely no communication. So, it's these things you got to like think about, that you might be good now, but it's also later on in the future.
Yeah, it's I mean, I really hope people would just understand that, because again, it's a small world. It truly is a small world. So that's so interesting, because I feel like every talent acquisition specialist kind of deals with that stuff, and I don't know, it's a really negative what to say, mark on a candidate, for sure. It's all the things that you mentioned. So I'm just continuously astonished that this happens on a regular basis.
Agreed.
Don't do that, guys. Don't do it. I wanted to also ask you, I'm just looking at my notes here because I have a few questions. So on the candidate side, so you work with a lot of candidates as well. So how do you, I guess, advise people, or even from a talent acquisition perspective, when somebody is changing industries or changing careers? How much, do you feel like it has changed in a way that companies are more open now to bringing on talent who does not have specific experience within a particular field? Do you feel like that has changed over the last couple of years with the pandemic and everything? Or do you feel like is it getting worse? Is it getting better? And what do you advise candidates? Like, how do you get into a new field, even if you have like amazing transferable skills? Like, does that happen?
I think it has changed, and I think that it has changed for the better, because at one point years ago, job descriptions were written like long laundry list full of different bullet points, and then you would go down to the requirements, the qualification section, and then it would say you must have 10 years of progressive experience in, plus a master's degree in, plus communication skills, uh, um, computer skills, all these different skills, right? And then it was like, okay, we're not finding the right candidate, right? Over the years, things have changed where now it's advised for us, the recruiters, to no longer state number of years for experience, right? So now it's more so of just ask for whatever experience you recruit for. So for example, I do a lot of recruiting. I'm in property management. So we hire a lot for concierges, maintenance, leasing, property managers, things like that. And then also at the headquarters level. Now, whenever I'm hiring for an on-site position, like a concierge, that's a front desk person. That person is working a day shift, an evening shift, or an overnight shift. Do they really need a master's degree in a position?
Yeah.
No, right? So am I going to disqualify someone because if they have a master's degree and they are willing to be in a concierge position, great. Maybe they need that extra income, right? But I'm not going to disqualify someone because they don't have a degree. Or it could be someone that at one point, we may have been asking for a certain amount of years. And now it's like, tell me about your people skills, because you're dealing with people on a daily basis. You're dealing with residents. Sometimes the residents are upset. You're dealing with all types of people, visitors, prospects, phone calls, the delivery guy, contractors that walk through the building. I mean, you're dealing with so many people on a daily basis, right? So it's more so of how do you handle speaking to people? Good situations, bad situations, all of it. Everything happens whenever you're working on site. It's not every day, it's not a pretty day. So it's more so of tell me about your skills, like what can you do. So now it's being advised to don't categorize people in a bucket based on their years of experience, because then you're also disqualifying really good candidates. To be a manager, sometimes we ask for 5 years as a manager, but does 5 years of a manager really mean that you are a great manager? you know or maybe you've been managing a person just for 1 year, but maybe you've been doing great in that 1 year, and we're disqualifying you because you didn't meet the requirements of 5 years. We're missing out on talent there. So I think now managers are really starting to understand that it's more than just looking at their resume and what the number of years or what certain education level that they have. Is more so of, can the person do the job at the end of the day? And can we click? Can we vibe as a team, as a manager, and as a direct report? Do you fit within the company culture? Like, it's more than just what do you bring to the table. It's a lot more like, can you add value to the team? Can you fit in with us?
I was having a similar conversation a couple of days ago. I was recording a podcast with another guest, Stephen Rothberg from College Recruit, and he's been in this business of just like, world of work for 25 years plus. And he was giving me some really, really interesting statistics around the fact that the success in terms of like how successful is a candidate with a college degree or like a high GPA versus a low GPA, it really does not determine the success level of that person in a particular position. And realistically speaking, and I think we've all seen this, especially in the last couple of years, and again, no shade to higher education. I've started my career in higher education. I do have a master's, so I did continue my education, but realistically, like, now I'm looking at like, how can I upskill myself? And I'm moving away from, it's just very expensive and not everybody can afford it. Number one, not everybody needs it. And the world of work is shifting so fast that by the time you've completed a 4-year degree, a lot of times people are graduating with thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars of loans. And then don't have a choice but to take any job, and you might not even like the job, but you got to pay your bills, you got to pay the tuition, right? Or the loans. And it puts you in a very difficult situation. And I think we're not doing anybody a service by doing that, because the individual is just taking a job because they need a paycheck to pay their bills. And you as a company is probably getting a candidate who may or may not like what they do, which means they're probably not going to be great at that job, versus having somebody who actually likes what they're doing, having the soft skills necessary to learn and to grow, right? And it's such a sensitive topic to me, because I think that we're just shoved this like idea of this, ticking the boxes so much. And I'm really glad to hear that we're moving away from that, because like you said, we're missing out on a lot of talent. And again, not everybody has access to that education, and it doesn't make them any less qualified than anybody else.
facts. You are speaking facts. Like seriously, like, and that's one thing that for me, it's like I've had this huge project right now of revamping job descriptions, and that has been my main thing. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certain roles, like more of those higher level positions that do require a sort of education level or seniority level. I totally understand, right? But we're talking about like entry, mid-level positions. Really, do you really need to, just overwhelm a person with so many requirements? Like, no, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to bring in and welcome the talent and attract the talent versus like, sending them away. And they're like looking at our job description because that's really what it is. They're not really reading through the full job description. They're skimming and then they go straight down to the qualifications. And then if it says a certain amount of years, a certain amount of anything, you're starting to disqualify men, women, young, old, different backgrounds and all that, because then they see themselves as, okay, yeah, I definitely don't even qualify for this. They're not even going to give me a call back because of their requirements.
Yeah, it's really discouraging for candidates for sure. We keep looking for these unicorns, like the managers keep looking for these unicorns, right? And really,
Yeah,
it's
I
just,
still haven't found where they stay at. So if anybody knows, please let me know. I always tell the
that's how
managers,
I
if
feel.
you know where unicorns hang out, let me know.
Yeah, I feel like that's my day to day. Is I just feel like I'm supposed to find unicorns, unicorns.
Exactly.
It's that's how a lot of recruiters feel as well. It's just like we're looking for unicorns out there, when in fact maybe an easier way is to find a mini unicorn, or like I don't know, a pony or something else, and train them and train
And
them
train
up.
them.
Train them, spend a month, invest in them, train them. They might be better, even maybe sometimes more even cost efficient than your unicorn.
Oh my
You never
gosh,
know.
yes.
So it's
And one thing I always say, and I say this to my managers all the time, sometimes I'll get some managers that are like, I really need experience. And sometimes they're right, depending on what's going on, the time of the year, the season, etc. They may need somebody who's strong in with the experience, but most of the time they really could train, right? They already have a solid team, and now we're just adding someone to their team. And I always tell managers, sometimes your best hires are someone who's green, is someone who's green,
yeah,
someone who's new, fresh new eyes, fresh new experience, fresh new everything. Think about it. Someone had to give you a fresh start too. Like if you
exactly.
wouldn't have gotten into this industry, this role, if no one gave you the chance. So you got to also give somebody else the chance. Pay it forward. Give somebody else the chance.
Yeah,
Train them.
yeah. Empathy. Really, that's where it comes down. Empathy. I think we very quickly forget when we move up in our careers where we started, and the fact that we didn't get there on our own. And most
Exactly.
always
Yep.
somebody supporting and kind of
Exactly.
opening up doors for you. So I think that's super, super valid. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, so you have your work and you're doing different things, but then you also decided that you wanted to start a little side hustle, right? So what has inspired you? And one of the biggest things that people always say, well, I don't have time for side hustle. So how do you make time? How do you find that time? Is it because you're just super passionate about it? Or like, what is it that drives you to do more and more outside of your regular work?
I am passionate about it. And starting the side business actually was also like by accident. So it's like all these things happen to me by accident and they just formed themselves into something so beautiful. So for many years being in recruitment, people have always asked me, Neyda, can you help me with my resume? Neyda, can you do this? Can you do that? And I did, right? I would help people with their resumes. And maybe about like 2 3 years ago, I'm a big person that I like to have goals written down, so I love writing down my goals for the year. Like, yeah, I do that whole New Year's resolution stuff. I write it on my board. I have my whiteboard and I have like quarter 1, quarter 2,
Love
three,
it.
4, and I think about like what I want to do personally, professionally, just any goals, right? So I set them for myself, and I was like, you know what, I want to make more money. Like I want to make more money, and not that I'm not making enough with my job, but I'm like, hey, I want to have a little bit more money so I can like splurge a little bit more, right? And so it kind of started from that, and then I just put that on my board, and after a while, like, I don't know why, but it was like the universe was like telling me, okay, you got to start a business, because it's like everywhere I would see, like, I would see business coaching and then like tips on how to start your business, or like how to jump out there into your side hustle and things like that. So one day I was like, you know what, like, I need something that is going to like pop for me, right? I need a sign, right? And it just so happened that an ex-colleague and friend of mine reached out to me and said, Nada, I know you're recruitment, you're the perfect person. Can you help me with my resume? And I was like, it was like a light bulb clicked, because back then I used to be like, yeah, I'll help, but I would be so busy and I would just be like, I don't think I really want to help. Yeah, like, I don't think I would really want to do that. So I would help here and there. But when he reached out to me and he asked me, can I help him with his resume? It just kind of clicked. And I was like, yeah, resumes. Like, people have been asking me for so many years if I can
Mhm.
help them with their resumes. Like, this is business. And then it just kind of like grew from there. And being a recruiter really helps me because I know firsthand what we look for. I know that there's an applicant tracking system, and certain systems will like kick your resume out if there's not certain keywords and stuff on there. And I know our attention span when we're reading through the resumes, we're not spending hours on one resume, we're spending seconds, like
Yeah.
3 to 6 seconds probably to read a resume. We're just skimming. We're not spending so much time on it. We got to keep it moving. We got to go. And so, I once I started doing his resume, I just kind of like put it out there into like my social media, and I announced it like, hey, I'm taking one-on-one consultations. If you need help with your resume, let me know. And it was like opening the floodgates. Everyone and their mama was like, I need my resume revamped. So it just kind of like, I just kind of figured, wow, like, this is something that apparently, like, people either, there aren't people out there that are doing resumes, or people just don't know about it. And so it was a lot of people that I knew in around in my circles that really used my services. And then it expanded from resumes to LinkedIn. I'll revamp your LinkedIn profiles. And then it extended to, hey, I'm applying, I have an interview, like, can you kind of tell me some tips? Can we role play? Can we, or I'm trying to make a career change. Could you just kind of walk me through that? So then it just kind of eventually evolved itself into more and more and more. And so here I am, and who knows how much more it might evolve into.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it was by accident. I think a lot of it had to do with your openness and willingness to try things and to change. And
Right.
I think that because you kind of have this in the back of your mind, okay, how can I also monetize a little bit more? And then you brought awareness to it essentially. And I think, and I'm also
Mm-hmm.
kind of goals and lists and these sort of things, simply because it just kind of sets you like on some kind of direction, like no matter how crazy it is, just so that you start recognizing, because we have so many things and opportunities that might come our way, but we're not paying attention. We're not paying attention because we don't know what we want, and it could be, okay, make a little bit more money. And sometimes it's just as vague as that. I want to monetize. I'm not sure how, but I'm just going to put it out there. Like, that's what I want to do. And then, like you said, it's just like, I don't know, whatever people believe in, whether it's universe or I don't know, whatever it may be, unicorns out there that are sending this information, whatever you believe in, there's something to it. There is something to it, in terms of just bringing
Agreed.
awareness. And maybe it's just your own mind, like opening up your mind to certain, I don't know, areas that you just never thought about. So
Yeah.
yes, I don't think it was by accident. I think your mindset has a lot to do with it, and your willingness to kind of just hustle, and spend time. And that's why you truly know that the person really enjoys what they're doing, because you rarely start side hustles doing what you're been doing and things like that, because you just like, oh, I'm just so drained from just doing it during the day. I cannot be bothered to do anything more with it, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't in those situations where they are just so drained by their work. And I think a work
Hmm.
should energize you. And I wish more people would recognize that, because it just impacts so many aspects of our lives, from physical well-being to financial to mental to our personal relationships, etc. So kudos to you for doing what you love. I mean, loving what you do and
Yeah.
what you love, both ways.
And I think also another reason why I'm also passionate in educating people, giving people tips on like what not to do in an interview or like what to do, is because I see it all the time. I
Yeah.
see it all the time. People are unprepared. They are, not really killing the interview. They are super shy, like they're not coming off confident. Like, this stuff. I tell people, this stuff. The recruiter invited you to a pre-screen because your resume told a story, and that story to them was like, okay, I want to hear more. And you know yourself better than anyone else. Sometimes it's uncomfortable for some of us to talk about ourselves, but that's how you sell yourself. And so seeing that as at my day job, that people were just not doing great. And I try to coach people sometimes during my interviews with them when they're not really doing that great. I will step out of my recruiter because I'm looking out for the manager, for the company's well-being, but I'm also looking out for the candidate, right? So I'm like that middle person, that matchmaker. And if I can help you out, because I see that you're trying, clearly you're interested in the position, you're trying, but maybe you're not doing that great. But maybe you're not gonna be, necessarily chosen for us, but hey, maybe my tips will help you if you interview somewhere else, right? So I do that. And that's when I realized that, okay, I need to share this information with the world, with people. And surprisingly enough, like a lot of my followers on my social medias are Latinos, Black, these are, minority communities, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of times in our communities, we are not taught these things, like we don't know these things. So I know firsthand because I grew up in an immigrant home. I didn't know a lot of these things.
Mhm.
I know them now through my job, through my career that I've held. But I think if it wasn't for that, I probably would be just like them, that I would be like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't even know like what's ethical or not, or the etiquette and, things like that. And so I feel like it's also, I take the responsibility and I enjoy taking the responsibility of, just letting my communities know that, hey, this is what we need to do in order to elevate our lives, to elevate our careers. And yes, you can negotiate your offer. And yes, you can do this. And yes, you can do that. And people will always, I get so many messages and emails and phone calls from people that are like, wow, Neyda, like if I would have never, read your tips or heard your podcast on like what you do, like I would have never took that jump in my career, or I would have never negotiated my pay the way that I did, or I would have never done this. So I know that my, tips and my advice and all that is really helping people.
Yeah, you're definitely spot on. I think it just comes down to awareness and access. And I think a lot of people don't realize they had, that awareness, there is a lot of information out there. And also having access to certain things is more affordable than people can imagine. And could be just things like podcasts, right? That just get knowledge. And a lot of opportunities that are accessible for people, even if they don't have a 4-year degree, particularly in tech. There's a lot of very affordable kind of training programs that people can take and completely change their career and be in tech and then grow within that field. So I was talking to a guy on a podcast. He does, his company does Salesforce training for people helping career change. And it's astonishing the amount of success stories that come out of that. People who, just completely different fields, no experience in tech, and they transition quite well into these tech careers. So again, access and awareness, and again, kudos to you for bringing that awareness to people. I think it's important, and it's nice that now we have access to podcasts, just information that we can put out there and say, listen, like just no strings attached. Here you go. Just try this thing. Here's some knowledge. So for sure,
Exactly.
it's a great thing. Something funny, when I was talking to the guy from College Recruiter, he was like, in the 90s, if you wanted to learn about a company, you would go to your career advisor at the university. They have this like books of like basically about a company, and they would literally have, back in the 90s, they'd have like 15 companies, 15 books about companies, of like the top companies. So if it's like a small company, you could never even figure out what it is or who they are, and you would have to do that to go and get information. Today, people can just Google anything and find everything they need. So when candidates show up unprepared, it also drives me crazy. I'm like, how do you not know about us? You know, like bare minimum, it's literally at your fingertips. But again, comes down to awareness. And because I think we're just so busy and we're just, I think, just so distracted, we forget to take 5 minutes to do these sort of preparatory steps. So
Exactly. And you know, one thing that I do for my confirmation emails when it comes to those like pre-screens, even for my interviews with my hiring managers, I provide the candidate all the links necessary that they need to find enough information about us. So I'm giving you the company's website, our LinkedIn, our Glassdoor, our, you know, wherever else we are that you can look us up, I'm giving you those links. And so I'm giving it to you. Like, you don't even have to, you know, go through hoops to try to find these links. And yeah,
yeah.
you can easily Google them and take about 5 minutes. But like you said, you know, it's, to me, it bothers me, especially as a recruiter, that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, but you're looking for a job. This is not something that you want to say to the manager. Like, you know, you could probably get away with it with me if, you know, depending on how you do in your interview, where I will then say, okay, you know, after this, take some time to just read through our website, get a little bit more familiar with us. But when you go to the interview, please do not say that to the manager, because right there, it's a turnoff. Because what do you mean you don't know anything about the company, you know? And I always tell candidates too, remember, we're interviewing you to make sure that you're a fit for us, but you got to interview us to make sure that we're a fit for you. You know, it goes both ways. This is like dating, you know, you're trying to figure out each other. Are we compatible? Are we not? Do we have the same interests? Do we not? Like, you
Yeah.
know, do we both like the same hobbies, the same foods, the same what? Like, what is it, you know? And it's the same way, you know, candidates nowadays, especially in today's market where it is a candidate's market, it's like you have all the advantage on your side. And it's like, just, you know, prepare for it. Because, you know, there are companies that, and I've come to hear this often, where, you know, a person is like, oh, I didn't really do much research about the company, and I joined the company and they're so toxic. I didn't read the reviews on Glassdoor. I
Yeah.
didn't read anything until I got there, is when I really found out how the company was. And I'm like, yeah, you did yourself a disservice.
Mm.
You did yourself a disservice. You know, like, there are these resources out here that give you all the information, you know. And Glassdoor is a really good place that I always direct people to, because those are real employee, current employee and ex-employee reviews. That's going to really give you the real nitty gritty about the company. These are real reviews. Just like we go to Yelp to check out the next restaurant we're going to hit up to eat, you know, on a Friday night, or before we purchase anything on Amazon, you know, we're reading reviews, right? The world nowadays is about reviews. So same thing, jobs, employers, companies, they have reviews as well. So read those reviews, and then you'll find out more about the company's culture, their values. Do they really uphold their values or not? And then you'll find out, is it really a match for me or not?
Mm. Absolutely. I think preaching to the choir here. So it's but I just wish more candidates just take accountability for their own careers and take it in their own hands. I think that we give away a lot of power essentially in disservicing ourselves. So great tips, Neyda. I wanted to also ask you, so I'm sure you do, you know, if people want to get in touch with you, or maybe you put some content out there, or maybe podcasts and things like that, where can they find you? Where do you usually hang out?
Yep. So I'm on LinkedIn, Neyda Urias, Sherm CP. So that's SHRM CP. You can find me on LinkedIn. I also have a podcast. It's called Living La Vida de Luxury, where I talk about all of these things that we talked about today, like career tips and things like that. But I also talk about like first gen experience, because that's also, you know, really what I resonate a lot with. And I know that my Like I mentioned, my community really resonates with that. So I talk about that. So yeah, so you find me on Spotify, on Apple, iTunes, Google, wherever you listen your podcast, I'm on there.
Sounds good. I'll make sure to share the links in the description below as well.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for the work that you're doing and just for the great tips you offered our audience today.
Thank you so much.